We have FTX paying back investors very, very soon. A lot of unlock, a lot of liquidity to enter the markets. We'll see what happens from there. We have Michael Saylor posting another orange dot chart, meaning it's time for MicroStrategy to buy more Bitcoin, it looks like. We have Vietnam closing 86 million different bank accounts. And that really goes down a rather slippery slope and strange rabbit hole. So I'm excited to kind of crack those open. Look, the goal here is to really give you back your time, 10, 15-minute streams. That way you don't have to spend all day trying to figure out what's important to pay attention to. Please retweet the stream if you haven't already. We're going to dive right into all the stories right now. Here we go. Got Michael Saylor buying Bitcoin, like I said, and he hasn't stopped. Doesn't seem like it's going to anytime soon. We have Michael Saylor posting this usually the day before or somewhere around the time when he buys. Of course, in the last few months, has come up a lot of whether or not he actually is doing this because you can't track it. There's no proof of reserves, blah, blah, blah. And so it's actually interesting because the Michael Saylor tracker used to be 100% bullish, and it still is for the most part, right? When people see this, they're excited because he's buying more. But, at some point, you're in a situation where you're like, hey, man, how many times can you buy this thing? And all these people buy it, and the price sit at $150,000. Like, we should be at 180, 200K by now is what a lot of people are saying if these are true. And so it's been interesting to see how this story develops with the Michael Saylor tracker and when he posts this one. So we'll bounce to the next story here, which is FTX. Right, this is the bankrupt exchange. Sam Bankman-Fried, you guys know his face, paying back $1.6 billion to creditors. And so there's going to be some type of liquidity injection back into the markets. I'm not exactly sure who that money is going to be going to. If you guys know, please let me know on what exactly is going to be happening. But just for the TLDR, pull this out. The bankruptcy estate will release $1.6 billion to creditors on September 30th. That's coming up here in 9 days. This will be the third major payout since the exchange's collapse, and the September distribution follows previous rounds that have also returned over $6 billion to creditors. And so I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I guess this is great for people who are involved. They're at least getting something back out of it. I'm sure that really, really sucked for a period of time when they just were kind of sitting there waiting. But yeah, the FTX Recovery Trust looks like they're going to be they're getting another third rollout here. So good to hear. Let's jump to the next story here. Interesting stuff. Bitcoin, 6% away from flipping silver. Man, so interesting, dude. I mean, this asset class is just making so much headway the last few years. It's an exciting time to be alive. It truly is. I mean, if you haven't already, please, I mean, if you're in the chat, let me know. I mean, that sentence alone, Bitcoin, 6% away, market cap, the flipping silver, something that's been around for so long. I mean, just think of the narrative. Just think of that, just purely from a game theory perspective. Think of the narrative when Bitcoin is at $200,000 or Bitcoin's about to flip, insert market cap of whatever asset it is. And that narrative, as it picks up, it's interesting that every time the narrative picks up and more people find out about it, the price goes up again. And because that's always the argument against it, right, is that, more people buy it, and it's the greater fool's theory. You buy it, you sell it to someone stupider the next time. But it's almost opposite this time. Right? You're selling to someone smart. They just found out at a later time, or they found out 10 years ago and they just are buying. They're DCing today as well. And so Bitcoin's a different type of asset because it's worth picking up, right? That's like the one different factor here with most assets involved when you're talking about them. The intrinsic value behind the asset itself is not backed anything worth anything. So you're like, why would I cannot hold my wealth in this? I understand the gold bugs. And I understand why a lot of them become Bitcoiners, and I understand why a lot of them just stay gold bugs. They're like, look, I'm not worth diversifying into tech. I'll just hold on to the store of wealth. It's gold. I get it. I know it's here. It's been here for thousands of years. This Bitcoin thing, I'm not sure yet. But I see why so many gold bugs are able to understand gold because of this insight. If you're talking about the stock markets, it's incomparable. It's just fundamentally not the same thing. I mean, it makes so much more sense to hold gold. So much more sense to hold Bitcoin than it would ever make sense to hold any kind of stock that's tied to the US dollar. Let's jump to the next one. And it goes really along with this, right? Vietnam to close 86 million bank accounts. And I already know the comments are coming. That's not exactly what it says. They were already frozen bank accounts. Like, nobody was using them. Who cares, dude? Why are they able to do this? Like, this is not a story that should exist. Like, I don't know. Maybe on a practical level, like, you got a government, they got to do things, whatever. But it's like, why are you able to do that? That this should not be possible, but it is. And so this kind of goes in line with a lot of the central bank digital currency conversations, the stablecoin conversations, these clarity acts, the genius acts, all these things. They give these words and they attribute them. And it's like Trump, it's like the Trump thing where he says something, he can just completely mean something else. You know, I can think of so many examples right now, but I will not. I will refrain. Right now, if you don't have Bitcoin in cold custody, and I actually made a tweet about this earlier today. Let me see if I can find it. And I think this is true, right? Like it was a post from, it was Bitcoin Therapist. And this was like 20 minutes ago, actually. So you can find it. It was a post about Coinbase and the CEO, Brian Armstrong, claiming that Coinbase is is 80% is holding 80%, I believe, of all custodied Bitcoin for like ETFs and all these other. Yeah, here it is. Let me share the screen here. Here's the post. They are the custodians of 80% of all spot Bitcoin ETF. See, like these kind of stories, they just scare me, dude. They just scare me. Like that is not the ideal situation. You want to have control. You want to have your own keys. You do not want someone to be able to just walk in and take your stuff. This is basically the whole concept behind Bitcoin. This is why it has nothing to do with crypto. Crypto is purely about opportunities, finding opportunities, making money. That is what they're doing over there. Bitcoin is purely, you can use it as I love the extra, characteristics about it that you can peer-to-peer transact it. You can move it across the world without paying $1 million in transaction fees and it taking forever. But ultimately, it's a store of wealth. That is the only conversation, basically, with Bitcoin. When you start to bring in stablecoins, you start to bring in DeFi, you start to bring these other things, it's fine. They're just attacking a different part of the market, an entirely different cohort of people and investors and interests, right? They're such separate crowds of people that we literally had to make Wolf Bitcoin. They're that different, the crypto world. And it's not that, it just is what it is. I just happen to be more interested in the store of wealth conversation. I just think that will be the conversation to have. And this is going to be, it is the only question to have. It's the only thing to talk about, really, to be honest. And I think that will become more and more apparent as time goes on. But yes, they ordered the termination, deletion of 86 million bank accounts that were inactive or frozen or whatever it is for whatever reason. And here's the craziest part. The biometric KYC push, right? This is what everyone's talking about. If you're at the airport, try not to opt into these. All of these biometric scanners, by the way, have an option not to take it. That's why it's not, it doesn't make sense. You're like, all these companies want your data. They want to know what you're doing, how many steps you're doing, what your heart rate is. They want all this stuff. But then, like, especially with this KYC, the biometric KYC stuff, which just scares me, because they can control stuff. The fact that you can opt out with such little pushback bothers me, right? I can literally just say, no, I'm good. And they'll just say, okay, cool. And I walk out. Like at the airport, when you're going to check in for security, you give them your ID and then you go in, you take the little photo thing in the front of the webcam and you move on with your life. But the fact that you can just say, no, I'm good. And there's a sign right below it that says, hey, you can just opt out if you don't want to. It's like, why is our default to just say yes and, not rock the boat? I don't like that. That is not the default we should have. And I think what Bitcoin does that's special is that Bitcoin teaches you to not default that way. It forces you to redefine the way you look at the world. And it makes you go into a different perspective. And I think there's not many answers that allow you to do that. Gold is on the way there. And that's why so many gold bugs become Bitcoiners. But until you are in that headspace ready to talk about it, you're not going to be there. And so it's one of those things that, like, if that becomes of an interest, then that's where the Bitcoin conversation will find you. And that's where you will start to be like, okay, now I see why there's such a big difference between Bitcoin and crypto. So anyways, yeah, this is terrifying. I mean, this is literally in line with CBDCs. This is in line with full control. Hey, we don't like the post you just made. Hey, we have your fingerprint. So now your fingerprint doesn't even work on your phone because we have control. And you can just see how that plays out. And yes, you can call conspiracy. If you've seen the last 5 years of life, you're an idiot if you think that conspiracies are, too much weird stuff is happening. Nothing is as it seems. Nothing is as it seems. So that's just my message out to the world. It just seems to be the case. Let's check in on Bitcoin here. We got a 15 minutes chart here from Ostium, by the way. Excellent trading platform. But yeah, just still ranging, man. I've been saying the exact same thing for the whole last week, so I won't really say anything else. We are stuck here, and we don't seem to be leaving until we get a directional change and we've got confirmation one or the other. We seem to just be bouncing here. And so if you're a scalper, you're loving life, you're buying, you're shorting here, you're longing here, you're killing it. And so if you're a scalper, you're loving life. And if you're an investor, you're probably okay. If you like these levels around 115, then you got a bunch of time to pick up spot. and plenty of opportunities. I'm sure there'll be many swings up and down. I'm of the camp that I'm cool with either way. If we go to a full 4-year cycle, we drop down to 60K again, I'm happy I got a job. If we end up this is the bottom and we just go up from here and we track along the stock market, I'm glad I got my position that I have. Anyways, but if you're into scalping, Ostium is an excellent platform. Use code WOLFC if you guys want to start trading. There's a tweet down below the stream if you're watching on X, and it's in the description on YouTube. But you can trade any and all assets here. You can trade the S&P, you can trade Google, Meta, these Mag 7. You can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Forex. There's so many options. You can trade them all on Ostium, up to 100x leverage too, which is so cool. And you can see right on the right side, I'm kind of just messing around with these things, but so easy to use, very user friendly. You can connect your wallet. It takes like 8 seconds to sign up. And not only that, you get to keep your money in your wallet. So there's no situation where Ostium runs off with your funds or freezes your account because you're a good trader. A lot of platforms do that, by the way. They will be like, oh, this guy's like really killing it. Let me liquidate this guy. Let me get this. Let's freeze this guy's account. Let's not give him his P&L. That's a huge thing apparently in the trading world. Just things like that, and just sketchy behavior across platforms. And that's definitely not the norm. That's not probably what the norm is. But I just thought that was an interesting factor, that the money is in your own wallet. And so it's not like a linked account that's an Ostium wallet. It's your own MetaMask wallet. So anyways, love those guys at Ostium. Obviously, our partners for a long time. We're actually going to have a space here, Market Talk space, hosted on Ostium in about 5 minutes. And that's what the stream really is here about, to catch you guys up on what's going on in the markets before we, the week is about to start. Tomorrow's Monday. And we haven't had any crazy news yet. But we still have a few hours. I see D-Hop in the house. What's going on, D-Hop? I see OTG. What's going on? I see Zet. Good to see all of you, man. Thank you. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Let's go to this last story, or one of the last stories here. We have Valor Digital Securities launching its Bitcoin staking ETP on the London Stock Exchange, offering professional investors 1.4 annual yield backed by 1-to-1 Bitcoin held in cold storage, which is very cool. I like this. This is the kind of stuff that is the directional way we need to be headed. As long as you're not, rehypothecating the Bitcoin, it's better. Unfortunately, if nobody is rehypothecating and everyone is offering lending, somebody's lying. This is why Darkside's message is so important, and everyone calling him a doomer, it just doesn't matter to me, because even if he was a doomer, the message is important. You have to get ready for the conversation around self-custody. Even if you're not there yet, it needs to be in your vocabulary. It needs to be in your brain, because look, dude, if there's more than 21 million Bitcoin circulating because of the paper derivatives markets, and there will be, by the way, because everyone's going to be lending and there's only a limited supply, and our system's not set up with an asset like that, and it's never been. So what's going to happen when everyone tries to do the same model they've always run on fiat, because you could print more, on something as awesome as Bitcoin? I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. I don't know exactly what to think, but I'm just here to be tracking. I guess I'm just grateful to be here alongside you guys. Final story. We have Cointelegraph updates. The royal government of Bhutan now holds $982 million. 99% of that is in Bitcoin, with just under 1% of it held in Ethereum. Still almost $1 million of Ethereum. But man, what a balance here from Bhutan. They're definitely making good decisions here, I think. If they're able to hold long term, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not up to date on exactly what's going on in Bhutan in terms of their Bitcoin standard and stuff like that. But, cool stuff. Look, guys, that is basically all I have for the weekend. Just the last couple of days of what's going on in the Bitcoin world and the crypto world. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Please like and repost the stream if you enjoyed it. We try and come on every single day, or most days, and try and just fill you guys in. And we'll see you guys all the next one.